Parker, First United Methodist Church. If we could all please stand.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and citizens. Would you join me in a word of prayer? Gracious Lord, on this beautiful spring evening, we convene ourselves in these chambers tonight as fellow citizens and community members, as council leaders and civil servants, as first responders, teachers, business leaders, medical providers, and most importantly, we convene as neighbors and friends. As we gather here tonight, we pause to recognize that we are blessed beyond measure, and we count it our privilege to live in this island and in this city. We again remember our forebears, the coastal Salish tribal peoples, who also called this island home, and later the Dutch settlers. May these acknowledgments help us to be good stewards and sharers of this land that belongs to all who would call it home. We give you thanks, God, for the gift of open and transparent government that will be exercised here tonight, for our elected Mayor Wright, for our council members, for all the convening wisdom and historical perspective that they bring that leads us to embrace best practices that will be beneficial for all in this city. We ask that you would make their work a joyful honor to them as they dedicate their time and their expertise to guide and lead our city. Help us as citizens to bring our best to the table of community involvement and enrichment. And may we all lean forward into our agenda tonight as we express gratitude for the past and hope for the future. And so, God, I close by asking what Harry Emerson Fosdick once prayed: grant us wisdom, grant us courage for the facing of this hour. In the name of Christ, I pray these blessings. Amen.
Sorry, didn't warn you. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on YouTube and Facebook and will be broadcast on cable channel 10 HD 1090 following the meeting. Attendees are participating in person and via teleconference. Guests that are included in staff presentations will be excused at the conclusion of the agenda item as appropriate. At this time, everyone's accounted for. Is Councilmember Wiesner participating online?
He was entering the meeting, Mayor, and now it appears to have kicked him out.
Okay.
So we'll hope that he reconnects.
Okay, great. So everyone else is accounted for. So we'll proceed and see if he joins in a few minutes here. Next, we have approval of the agenda. Are there any suggested changes to the agenda? And before I ask that, I would just like to note that staff has requested to move item 8C, employment agreement, Oak Harbor City Administrator Serena Combs, to later in the meeting after item 11, executive session. Are there any other requests for change in the agenda as presented? Yeah. All right, hearing no other changes, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended, and it was seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, Councilmember Hoffmeyer, are you voting or? Yeah, oh, you're good, okay. Okay, that approves unanimously. No, you're good. That's okay.
Mayor,
I just wanted to make sure I didn't.
I wish you to know that Councilmember Wiesner
Oh,
is
thank
in
you.
the meeting and has voted affirmatively.
Okay, great. I just can't see him. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councilmember Wiesner. I just can't see you. You're up on the other board, so. All right, so with that, we're going to move on to presentations. We have a couple of proclamations this evening. We have a National Police Week. Here to introduce that is our Chief of Police, Mr. Tony Slowick, to make a short presentation.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. Chief Slowick, Oak Harbor Police Department, to talk about the National Police Week. And so this is a proclamation for the City of Oak Harbor. National Police Week is next week, the week of May 12th through the 18th of this year. And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas National Police Week in America was created to honor and recognize the sacrifices and contributions made by police officers in communities both large and small, and whereas National Police Week, held every year in May, was created in 1962 through a proclamation issued by then President John F. Kennedy, and whereas our community will always appreciate and commend the risks of police officers take every day to ensure our community's laws are properly enforced and that public safety is ensured, and whereas now more than ever, the community also appreciates and encourages community involvement facilitated by our police officers to better serve and install mutual trust, camaraderie, and positive relationships among our increasingly diverse population in Oak Harbor, and whereas police engage with and serve the public in the most varied and wide-ranging manner and efforts do not go unnoticed. Now, therefore, we, Mayor Ronnie Wright, and council members of the City of Oak Harbor do hereby proclaim the week of May 12th through the 18th, 2024 as National Police Week. In the City of Oak Harbor, encourage all citizens to join in the recognition of the services, sacrifices, and efforts the Oak Harbor Police Department makes to best serve the community. So,
Great, thank you so much. Yeah. All right, so our next proclamation is observing American Water Works Association Drinking Water Week. And here to introduce that topic is our Public Works Director, Mr. Steve Schuler.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I was not prepared to actually read that proclamation tonight, and because I know our Mayor Pro Tem has done it before, and certainly if you want to stick with that tradition, or I want to double check. Okay, good. Oh, great. No, I just want to recognize, yes, that I just want to recognize wonderful presentation by the police, and then in a couple of weeks we'll be doing the American Public Works Association. So why are we doing a special one on water? The American Wastewater Association, American AWWA, American Association of Drinking Water Week, is a special recognition just to understand how precious it is that we are able to have clean drinking water every day, and how we take that for granted really in our society. So that's what this proclamation is about. And so thank you for bringing this up.
Great, thanks so much. And here to read that proclamation would be Councilmember Stuckey.
1 second. Not as good as the Skagit Valley. All right. Proclamation reads as follows. Whereas May 5th through May 11th of 2024 is recognized by the American Water Works Association as Drinking Water Week, and whereas safe, uninterrupted drinking water serves as a fundamental utility in the daily lives of our citizens, providing for hydration and hygiene and promoting the quality of life in our community. And whereas the City Water Division of the Public Works Department supplies our city with around 400 million gallons of drinking water each year and responds around the clock to emergencies and routine calls for service. And whereas the city's water division's operators diligently work to ensure the safety, quality, and continuous supply of our drinking water every day through various aspects of ongoing operation and maintenance of over 50 miles of water mains and service pipes, 3 pumping stations, 4 water reservoirs, and 3 water wells. And whereas the city's water supply has continuously and consistently met all Department of Health and Environmental Protection Agency standards for health and safety through the Water Division efforts, now therefore, we, Mayor Ronnie Wright, and the council members of the City of Oak Harbor do hereby proclaim May 5th through 11th, 2024 as Drinking Water Week in the City of Oak Harbor, and we urge all citizens, businesses, and institutions to celebrate this special observance and to join us in learning about our water system and the ways we can all join together to conserve and protect our water.
Great, thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. We will now move on to community presentations, and this evening we have a presentation by ICOM. ICOM Executive Director Sophia Cofield to introduce ICOM speaker to present information. Police Chief Tony Slowick may also have input on this subject matter.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I am Sophia Cofield, and I'm with Island County Emergency Services Communication Center, which is a mouthful. So that's why we like to say ICOM 911. And I'm just going to give a little bit of information about who we are and what we're currently doing. Let me see here. So that's just a little bit about me, who I am. 24 years in the 911 world. I've done every role within, and I've got real-life experience in disasters with floods, earthquakes, mudslides, you name it. I pretty much have done it. So that's just a little bit about me, but let's move on. Who and what is ICOM 911? ICOM 911 is actually the communications center that dispatches for all of Island County. So Whidbey Island and Camano Island is our jurisdiction. All the cities and towns and unincorporated areas is what we actually dispatch for and take care of. What I'd like to add in there is that our facility is located right next door in Oak Harbor, which is kind of surprising for some people and maybe not so much here in the city. But when I make presentations in Camano, sometimes people think that their dispatch center might be over there, but we're actually right here in Oak Harbor. We are not part of the county, we're not part of the city, but we're our own special district. And just a little brief history. We were created as an interlocal agreement. Work really began in 1992 to create that. Before ICOM was operational, what would happen is each agency, each fire department, or the police department had their own center and their own way of communicating and dispatching. It was a brilliant idea in '92 to come together to be more efficient, and with that work, we went operational in 1997. Our governance is a board of ICOM directors, so it's made up of the following people or their designee. It's a member of the Board of Commissioners of Island County, the Oak Harbor City Mayor, elected official to represent Whidbey Island Fire Districts, or a city fire department, which would be Oak Harbor. And then an elected person to represent Camano, and an Island County Sheriff, and the police chief of either Oak Harbor, Langley, or Coopville, and then an admin officer from the hospital district. So that's our board. All of our user agencies really are going to be our different responders. So we've got North Whidbey Fire Department, Oak Harbor Fire Department, South Whidbey Fire Department, the hospital district, Camano Fire Department, Central Whidbey Fire and Rescue, and then our law enforcement. So Oak Harbor Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, and Langley Police Department. Those are all user agencies. What do? We're there when you need help. 911 celebrated its 56th birthday this year, so 911 is always there. It's what we teach everyone. If you need help, dial 911. ICOM is staffed 24/7, 365, or 366 if it's a leap year, like this year. All of the dispatchers that are there are cross-trained, which is somewhat unique. Other centers in the state actually have different roles, so someone might be able just to call, take, and then be on the radio. ICOM does it all. So when you're at ICOM, you might answer the phone, or you might actually talk on the radio, or you might do both at the same time. Last year, we took over 93,000 calls, so that's all calls coming in from 911 or our business lines. And then ICOM, how we're funded. Sometimes people like to understand how this is funded, and really, right now, ICOM is funded mainly by user agency fees. It makes up about half or more of our budget. And then some of the other revenue streams that we have are based off of phone line fees. So we submit our call volume in, and then we'll receive that revenue back in based off of 70 cents per call into 911. And then also we have a state contract. So from the last year, we've got about $37,000 coming in from the state that helps fund us. And then we have some rental property off of our towers, where we have some income coming into us from that. And then often we're looking for grants or help from the legislation. And so we have been successful in some one-time monies coming in to help our budget. And right now, the ICOM board is reviewing other funding solutions because our user fees, or the agencies, are making up quite a bit of our funding. And some of the challenges that we're having is that our infrastructure is aging. We have equipment that's at the end of its life. And so instead of passing those fees on to our user agencies, the board is looking at how we can look at different funding models to be able to sustain what's coming and be able to make some of the equipment or the aging equipment actually into the next generation. And specifically for the city, I wanted just to point that out. So the city, for the police department and for the fire department, your user fees are just over $500,000. So that's why it's very important for the board to take a look at that and see how we can reduce that piece of it. And so as you see there, the rest of those user fees are just over 2.1 million, and that's mainly our budget. So the board is really taking a look at that to see how we can actually be more efficient and spend those dollars wisely. And I know that's a pretty short presentation, and I just would like to say thank you to the City Council, the mayor, and offer out to you and to any of our citizens, if you would like to come tour ICOM. We love to give tours and give more information. You can visit our website. There's a link on there to be able to fill out to give a tour, and happy to answer any questions or anything else that the council would like, or if the chief would like to add anything.
Great, thank you, Sophia. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm frantically writing down my questions. How many dispatchers do you have working at any particular time?
So we have 3 on during the day, and then sometimes we go down to 2 after 11 p.m.
After 11 p.m. I whipped out the calculator really quick on the 93,000
Sure.
calls a year. That's more than 250 a day, which is more than 10 an hour.
Right.
And I'm sure that it fluctuates, so sometimes it's less than that and sometimes it's much more. I've had the fortune of one kind or another to have to have called ICOM several times in my life, and the dispatcher has always been really helpful, really empathetic, really friendly, and so it was, I'd hate to have to call, but when I did have to call, it was, an okay experience. So thank you for what you do, and if I would encourage anybody who's remotely interested to take Sophia up on the offer for a tour, because it's really neat to see how all that works behind the scenes. It's just fascinating. So thank you for all that you do. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. I'll bring that back to the team.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, Councilmember Hoffmeyer.
At times I'm guilty of comparing too much to football, but I will say, think the place setter in a football game. Nobody knows his name unless something goes wrong, right? Just because nobody knows the dispatcher's name quite often, the importance of what they do isn't lost on any of us, obviously. There was a while back to where Whidbey Health gave a life-saving award in here to 4 civilians for an incident that was on Highway 20 out by the drive-in. A few months ago, Chief Slowick gave one of his officers an award that had saved a little girl that was choking on something, I believe it was. And if the dispatcher had even delayed in that instance by seconds, that might not have wound up that way. So I would offer this, and I know that Chief Slowick would probably agree, certainly with his working with you guys, but also his time heading ICOM there for a minute. On some of those more important calls, where the dispatcher does, end up saving a life, if you will. I would love to see a similar award happen in these chambers. But if you could share with all of your dispatchers how much they mean to all of us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I will.
Thank you, Councilmember Hoffmeyer. Councilmember Stuckey.
I apologize for this question in advance. Alert would be 2.0. Has it had any impact on your operations? Do you have any thoughts about it? I mean, however you want to answer that. We know it's there. Does it affect anything how you guys operate or anything like that?
Honestly, I have no idea if it has any kind of impact because I don't see it. So if it is, it's not something that's visible to me or the team, to the point of like if someone saw it, if they're making phone calls to us, I don't see that kind of impact. I know of it, but other than that, I don't have any other comments about it. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. Anyone else for the good of the order? All right, hearing nothing, thank you very much for your presentation,
Thank
Sophia.
you.
All right, we are going to move on to the citizen comment period. Citizens may comment on consent agenda items or subjects of interest not listed on the agenda at this time. Citizens will have the opportunity to comment on the remaining agenda items during the meeting as appropriate. Citizens can also visit our website prior to our meetings for methods to submit public comment or contact the city clerk, Julie Nestor, by phone or email. When submitting comments, please include your name and address. Public comment sent anonymously will be shared with the mayor and council but will not be displayed. We received 2 new public comments since our last regular meeting. They are displayed here. We were also copied in on several letters written in support of Parks and Recreation funding for pickleball courts. All right, thank you very much. Are there any members of the public present who wish to speak to items not listed on the agenda or on the consent agenda?
Mayor, we have 3 individuals that have signed up to speak. The first is Mr. John Lovick.
Great.
Good evening, Mayor Wright, members of the council. I did not know I would be first, or I would have signed up later. I promise you. My name is John Lovick, and I live at 2403 157th Place Southeast in Mill Creek, Washington. And I have the great honor of saying I am the father of Sabrina Combs. It's just the greatest joy in the world having such a wonderful daughter. And I just wanted to come up, first of all, to say hi to everyone. And I really enjoyed meeting Chief Sloak. He and I were not at the same time, but we both served in the Coast Guard. And I just really want to say something about the presentation I heard about the ICOM. I could not say it any better than it was said earlier. Those people in those centers do a fantastic job keeping our community safe. I was a state trooper for 31 years, and I will tell you something. There was nothing in the world better than having those emergency responders, those emergency dispatchers tell us where to go, what to do, and I just really want to thank everyone for this presentation. This has been absolutely wonderful. And I saw all of those letters from the pickleball community, and I want you to know I didn't tell those people to write you guys. It wasn't me that sent those. It is a popular sport. I was the person who sponsored the legislation to have pickleball become the state sport. And sometimes people see me, and I've actually had kids in grade school say, my mom said you're the guy who invented pickleball. I did not invent pickleball. I just play it a lot, and I absolutely love it. And so with that, I just want to thank you for just letting me say a few words, and I want to present a book called Pickleball for All to the City Council, and also some pickleball paddles, and challenge any of you anytime to pickleball. I'd love to play a game against you. Thank you very, very much, and thanks for the great work that you're doing.
That's great. Thank you so much, Senator Lovick, and thank you for having such an amazing daughter. She is my right hand here at this city, so I rely on her every day. Absolutely. Come on.
It's pickleball for all at a game. I'd love to play anyone I'm challenging anyone at any time.
All right. Next on the list.
Next on the list, Mayor, is Michelle Hines.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. I saw some chatter on the internet, social media, about Spin Cafe. I'm the executive director of Spin Cafe, and we moved to Southwest Barlow Street in November of this past year. I believe in meeting things head-on, and so I thought I'd come down here. There was some chatter that people were going to come and speak about Spin Cafe to the council. I don't see a lot of folks here, and if they are here to speak against Spin, I would be happy to have a conversation with them at another time. I would like to say thank you to the police department, to ICOM, to Compass Health, to Island County Behavioral Services, to Would-Be Homeless Coalition, Sunrise Services, CMAR, ITUA Stabilization Center, all of the people that work with this population. None of us could do any of it without each other. So I just wanted to express my gratitude to all of you that help us with these folks.
Great. Thank you for that.
Mayor, the next person on our list is Amber Burgess.
Good evening. My name is Amber Burgess. I am here to represent myself as a public health professional as well as a concerned parent. Following an incident at the city pool this past week, we were informed by the pool staff that there is a short-term solution for customers of Spin Cafe to use the pool facilities for hygiene. And so I understand, out of compassion, I understand the solution. again, it was proposed to us as a short-term solution. And I wanted to come here today and ask, was the health department consulted prior to implementing this plan? And also, is this truly a short-term solution, or is this a proposed long-term solution? And if so, just to understand a little bit more about that decision. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I would like to get your contact information. Did you leave all of your contact information when you signed in? Okay, great. So we'll... And the reason, too, though, is in full disclosure that we're not... The Northwest Pool Park and Rec Board is not the city's function, but I still we'll look into this and we'll reach out to you and get you an answer since you came to us with this request. So, yeah. All right, anything else?
Mayor, that concludes those that had signed up in advance to speak.
Okay, great. So I would like to extend an opportunity for those present that did not sign up. If they would like to make comments at this time, please step forward. All right, hearing none, we will close the public comment period and move on to the consent agenda. We will now move to the consent agenda. Staff has presented the listed consent agenda items, all of which were included in the meeting packet. Are there any objections or changes to the consent agenda as presented? Is Councilmember Wiesner? I don't see him. I guess he's good. Okay. All right, hearing none, the consent agenda item is approved as presented. And we will move forward with my comments, and bear with me with this voice. I'm going to try to get through all of this. Arbor Day, Parks and Recreation received this thank you from Christina Merritt, principal of Oak Harbor Elementary. Brian and Liz, please extend our gratitude to your team for planning such a great event today. Our kids had a blast, and your team made it so easy for us to participate. Thanks for helping us make memories for our little Eagles. Kudos for students. Oak Harbor High School sophomore Ramona Southwick recently received acceptance into the Do It Scholars Program through the University of Washington, a comprehensive program that empowers students with disabilities to succeed in challenging fields of study and employment. Ramona is one of only 20 students across the state to receive acceptance into the program this year, and I just wanted to say congratulations to you on your achievement. Boards and commissions, thank you to the response for our request to fill many of our boards and commissions positions. The city still has volunteer positions to fill. Please see our website to apply. We are still hiring. The city has openings for employment in several areas. See our website for a complete listing of those job openings. Upcoming special workshop. The City Council will hold a special workshop on May 15th from 1 to 5 p.m. in Council Chambers. The purpose of the special workshop is for the council to review and discuss their priorities. The meeting will be open to the public, but no public comment will be taken. Local events. There are several terrific special events happening in our area, many of which are displayed on the screen. And that concludes my comments, and at this time I will turn it over to council for your comments that you have at this time. Councilmember Stuckey.
It's been a couple of weeks since I've given my usual soapbox speech. No, I want to thank those that wrote in about the pickleball, specifically because, you know, to the credit of the executive director of Spin Cafe, she mentioned some chatter on social media. There's always chatter on social media. And I went on to that comment that she was talking about, said, hey, I'm here. Let's hear what you have to say. Crickets. So my point is, for anyone listening or watching, please, Facebook is a great start. Write in, come make a comment. I mean, it took one person talking about Spin Cafe in the pool, and Mayor Wright agreed to look into it, and he will. One person. That's all it took. We are begging for people to give us feedback, whether it be through email or in person, but it needs to be done besides just comments on social media. So thank you for those that wrote in, and please give us feedback directly and through effective channels.
Thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. Anything else for the good of the order from council? Yes, Councilmember Wittgenstein.
Yeah, I just wanted to
highlight one of the events coming up here, the Community Cares event, Mental Health Awareness Month. As a mental health professional, I am excited that we are recognizing the growth that we've had and making sure more access to healthcare is available. I'd also like to kind of just make a note that it's the Arts Commission meeting's been going pretty good, having a good time, watching how that works. We laugh a lot and have some fun, and we're working on that arts plan. They're working on that, and so there'll be more to come with that. And the Police Advisory Community Advisory Board, PCAB, I don't know what we're going to call it, but it's CAB. Okay, that's been exciting to see new faces coming to the table and people learning the process and being a part of that and being able to help support our police department through the city has been exciting as well. So I'm just really excited to be able to do those two things, and yeah.
Great. Thanks, Councilmember Wittgenstein. Anyone else for the good of the order before we move on? All right, hearing nothing, we will move on to public hearings and meetings. And we have a continuation of public hearing ordinance number 1994, 2023 Comprehensive Plan Amendments, 2024 to 2029 Capital Improvements Plan. Introducing to speak on this topic tonight, Principal Planner Kak Kamak to present. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Council. Kak Kamak, Principal Planner. I have a really short presentation since we chatted about this at the workshop. I just wanted to address some of Councilmember Marshall's comments and questions that he brought up, and we'll try and address it as best as we can. But before I jump in, I just want to say, normally these amendments are considered earlier in the year. Due to one reason or the other, we were considering continuous changes to this document that kind of led to some delays in the adoption of this document. So there were some questions about overlap of discussions happening while we're looking at this. So if the council can give us some latitude, we're jumping into the next budget year. So I'm going to ask for some consideration to consider some of the changes that were brought up during the workshop in our next update, but I'll go over some of those. Some we've been able to correct, so I'll try and address those, and then we'll try and jump to them to an action if possible tonight. So some of the questions that came up during the workshop, and that's related to the curb broadband study scope. I think there was a question about it being done for the Island County. I think there was some responses given that Island County is contributing some money to it. But from our internal discussion, we decided that we should look into the scope of this a little more. So we'll probably look into it during our next update. So this is one of those items we're asking council to give staff some time. By the time we come with our next suggestion, we'll probably have an amended scope for this. So we suggest considering changes in the next plan for this particular item. The pickleball court scope, budget, and location, we updated that. That was an updated information. Like I said, we're continuous changes in the project. We're trying to capture it at a point in time. So that got updated. So the Smith Park, I think there was a question about the ARPA funding. It's our understanding that the city has closed out the ARPA funding, and that the project scope had changed from being native vegetation underneath the Smith Park because it was a fire hazard, to more sort of planter type approach to native vegetation. But I think what was happening is in the process also two projects got combined, one from the budget and one from the CIP, and I think that's how that got in. And so we have to just update our sheets and code it. I think there's some coding things that have to be done. So again, this is one of those that I think we'll correct as we go into the next update. So that's one of the things that we'll look into further and make amendments as we go forward. traffic calming, I think the question was about the increased funding. We talked about how traffic calming measures are expensive if we want some real solutions. And so those costs have been increased, and I think that is mainly to reflect council interest. But if we have more questions, we have folks here that can probably potentially answer that. There was a comment made on the soft shore armoring in the marina project, and I think that is just an error. There was a remnants from a previous project. We have corrected that error and taken that out of the document. The marina breakwater did not have updated information. That has been updated again and included in the document. And I think there was a comment about about adding a feasibility study for a recreation center. And I think, again, this is a good one to consider in the next update, which we'll be bringing shortly. So with that, I will be happy to answer any further comments or questions or concerns, and we have staff here. Hopefully they can answer any more details. But our hope is that you conduct the public hearing, close the public hearing, and make a motion to approve the CIP. So with that, I'll turn it back to the council for questions and comments.
Great, Kat, thank you so much. At this time, I will reopen. The public hearing is continued from April 16th. And I will turn to our city clerk and confirm that we received no public comments on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
Great, thank you so much. And then I will now turn it over to those who are with us this evening and invite you to step forward for public comment if you have any at this time on this issue. All right, hearing none, I will close the public hearing and call upon council for their questions and comments on this issue. Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. Kat, you ready? Round two? I got a binder full of questions down here. No, I just wanted to apologize again for hitting you with so many questions last time, but to thank you and staff for addressing the questions that I had, and you know, I think this is a great document, and I appreciate all the work that you and staff have put into this, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Marshall. Anyone else have any questions or comments for CAC on this matter? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion. Yes, Councilmember Marshall.
I move to approve ordinance number 1994, approving the 2023 Comprehensive Plan Amendment, Capital Improvements Plan 2024 through 2029.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion as presented by Councilmember Marshall, seconded by Councilmember Hoffmeyer. Is there any further discussions or comments before I call for a vote? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, passes unanimously. Thank you, Councilmember Wiesner. I got your vote. Thank you, CAC. All right, we are going to move forward with contracts and agreements. First up is a bid award for Windjammer Park baseball field renovations. Here to speak with us this evening is Supervisor Brandon Cable to present.
Hello, everybody. So I'm here to present the Windjammer Park baseball field renovation. My name is Brandon Cable. I'm the park supervisor. So a little bit of background. Our goal in providing sports fields is to foster a positive and safe space for kids to exercise, meet new friends, and learn new sports. In 2023, North Whidbey Little League approached the Parks Department with field safety concerns. We held a preliminary meeting with North Whidbey Little League to discuss a plan of action. They had said that Diamond Dust 4-in-1 was their preferred material. So providing a safe environment, providing a safe environment for everyone is always the top of our priority list. It's been over 2 years since the new field mix was installed on the fields at Windjammer Park. Over the past few seasons, these fields have lost material due to competitive play and wind erosion. Fields now have big lips, which is a player safety concern for both us and North Whidbey Little League. So this slide here is just a couple pictures that I took during the winter. They show the field conditions. On the left-hand side, you can see the low spots where the water is pooling. On the right-hand side is a pretty good picture of the lips. So playability, the big lips, they cause the ball to behave erratically whenever they're hit, which is a concern whenever somebody's fielding the ball. Field C near the kitchen and Bailey's playground is not square to home plate. So we're hoping to move the foul poles so that the foul balls can be judged adequately. And low spots cause standing water, which is a concern for playability as well and safety. So this was the original scope of work from 2023. The original estimate was over our purchase limit of $50,000, so we knew we'd had to do a formal bid. The Parks Department, Procurement, and North Woodby Little League had a meeting on January 8th, 2024 to discuss the project. North Woodby Little League said the original project had been meant for the players' safety and safe playing conditions, and they were concerned about project creep. The original estimate does not include the additional time and money for city staff that was in the original bid. The highlighted section in red, so the one on the left was the original bid. The highlighted section in right is the identical bid with everything that I took out. So that was removed from the original scope of work after the January 8th meeting with North Woodby Little League. Field C, Bailey's field, was changed from a fully skinned infield to just between the base paths to attempt to save some money. So this is the current scope of work that we went out to bid with. After meeting with the Little League, City Procurement and I revised the scope of work to only include the safety items that were talked about and to reword the scope of work to exclude the city staff and resources. So this was what was put together. Removing the existing vegetation from infield B and C, check the orientation of the bases, reestablish the correct infield radius, install 4 inches of compacted diamond dust 4-in-1, laser set grades for the positive drainage. And this is field C. We were just skinning and hauling off the spoils. I took out the city staff would help and would help out with that. Reinstall home plate, pitcher's mound, and baseball foul lines using a laser for positive drainage. Establish a new infield radius and install 4 inches of compacted diamond dust in 4-in-1. So diamond dust in 4-in-1. This is just a little overview of the product. It's ground pumice. It's got low dust, good moisture control, and you can actually use this as top dressing. Right now, they're using two products, just a normal infield mix and a drying agent. So we could use that as a top dressing as well. It's used on the island at other facilities, and this was what was specifically requested by North Woodby Little League. Once the bidding closed, we'd received 2 bids for the project, both of which had used the diamond dust 4-in-1. On February 13, after we received the bids, I gave an update to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee where I addressed questions about the change of the scope of work and the concerns about infield material that was brought up. It is important to note that in this phase this is phase 1 of the projected project. Due to the limited funds of the sports fields the city is responsible for, this was a good faith effort to ensure safe play for children at the Windjammer Park locations. So just a little history. In 2023, we applied for an RCO grant and were unfortunately not awarded this grant. This grant was meant to help subsidize additional renovations needed around the fields, such as structures, new material for warning tracks, fencing, padding, etc. We have applied for a similar grant this year in 2024 that would be used for the same types of improvements if we are awarded. Oh, I apologize. That was that slide. So the procurement process, this was budgeted for $300,000 of unsecured funding. We conducted a formal bid on began in January 17th. We sent news out to, sent notifications out to the Whidbey News-Times, Seattle Daily Journal of Commerce, and the city's website. We did receive 2 bids, and Mattia Contractor was the lowest bid. Funding. The Windjammer Park Improvements Fund has a budgeted amount of $1,067,636. In 2024, funds available are over $1.3 million. The bid award amount is for $163,901.25. We are also asking for a contingency because the project is at Windjammer Park. It's in a high probability zone for Native American artifacts and remains. So we are asking for a 10% contingency for the total amount not to exceed $179,400.25. So on March 18th, 2024, after the bid openings, there was a meeting with North Whidbey Little League, City Administration, Parks, and Councilmember Marshall to discuss the scope of work for the project. North Whidbey Little League was concerned about the removal of non-safety related items. After our discussion, it was decided to add a change order into the original bid to address new warning track material, the installation of the 70-foot base anchors, and the reconfiguration of Field C for the 70-foot base anchors, which is what I had removed. That is that red part that I had removed from the original bid. So, North Whidbey Little League and Parks staff met with the contractor to discuss the change of the scope. After meeting with Mattia, we got some numbers that were unfortunately well above the 20% deviation from the original bid that we have to be under in order for a change of scope to take effect. So our motion is to award the bid for Windjammer Park baseball field renovations to Mattia Contractors, Inc. in the amount of $179,400.25 with the 10% contingency.
Great, thank you, Brian.
It happens all the time.
Brandon. At this time, I will turn to our city clerk and confirm that we've received no public comments on this matter.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
Great, thank you. And at this time, I would open it up to those who are here with us to see if anyone wants to step forward with public comments on this issue. All right, hearing none, I will call upon council for their questions and comments. Yes, Councilmember Hoffmeyer.
Yeah, Brandon, thanks for that presentation. You know, I think it was about 2.5 years ago when Councilmember Wiesner, myself, and the president of North Whidbey Little League at the time, Tim Stoker, first met with the former city administrator. And, Councilmember Wiesner kind of helped keep it alive while he was on the Parks Board there. And then, Brian came on the scene, and now we got you. So for you guys to finally get us to this point, it is pretty exciting. And I would say the play-in surfaces down there certainly have been a safety concern. And when it comes to baseball infield product, 4-in-1 Diamond Dust from Bliss, Idaho, there's a reason it's on almost every field in the Pacific Northwest. It does very well in our climate, very playable. The cushion of it's pretty soft as well. But not having to supplement the top dress in with Turfus, but the product being its own top dressing, saves money and time, and I guess that's where the 4-in-1 comes in. But anyway, just really excited to see this project where it is, and can't thank you enough for all of your work to this point. I know it's been challenging at times, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Hoffmeyer. Anyone else for the good of the order on this issue? All right, hearing no other, I can't see Councilmember Wiesner. Does he have a question? Oh, Councilmember Wiesner, thank you. I can't see him.
Thank you, Mayor. And yeah, I just want to thank park staff. You know, it has been a long road. And more importantly, I'd like to thank the all-volunteer group from North Whitby Little League for, you know, the patience they've had as we work through this, and their ability to work with us in good faith, right? I mean, none of this was easy, neither for our park staff trying to, you know, hone into a budget and get a lot of work done for very little money, and it wasn't easy for those folks either to get that news from park staff, and I get that, and but the fact that everybody was able to work together to get to this is important, and it's important to recognize those parents and volunteers from North Whitby Little League who donate their time and their energy, and I'm sure they reach into their pocket every now and then, right, to keep the sports for our community and our youngsters alive, and we couldn't do it without them, and they put a lot of time and effort in this alongside our park staff, right, to get to this point. Certainly, as we move forward, and I know Brian, poor Brian, I keep hitting him with so much stuff, but you know, as we move forward, obviously we need to be, you know, considering, you know, these ball fields probably in our capital improvement plans, right? You know, maintenance is always tough. It's easy to sometimes build stuff, but it's hard to stay on top of it and maintain it. And you know, we probably haven't done as good a job as we could because we haven't given the budget to the Parks Department to be able to do this. And you know, I know they're working really hard on some grants and stuff, but this is something also as a city we owe to you know, our kids and the community, and we do need to make sure that it's funded to be able to properly maintain these fields for these uses. So you know, my pledge obviously as we move forward is to, you know, work with you guys and maybe be a little bit more thinking ahead by getting some of this on the CIP, right? And in that way we get it slotted, we get an idea of some funds that we're going to need available, and then we can all work together to get those funds. But great job, park staff, and again, thanks to all those volunteers from North Whitby Little League. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wiesner. Anyone else for the good of the order? Yes, Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for the presentation, Brandon. Appreciate that. So Councilmember Wiesner just kind of nailed, you know, what my concern was, is this is a big ask, right? It's a lot of money that we're spending on this, and whatever happened prior to you getting here, whatever happened prior to Brian getting here is irrelevant at this point. What's important is that we're maintaining these things moving forward, so we don't have such a big price tag in the future. And so, you know, it really be a challenge not to you, but to my fellow council members, that we find funding for maintenance, continuous maintenance, so we can stay on top of these things and not necessarily have to have such a big ask later down the line. And so I appreciate all the work that you've put into this, and I'm looking forward to seeing the renovated ball field. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Marshall. Yes, Councilmember Wittgenstein.
Ditto, right, on all of that. Thank you so much for all the hard work. I just wanted to clarify the amount, right, because on your suggested motion and in the paperwork, it doesn't have the total of the two combined for us, because some of us need that extra help. It is indeed $179,425, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure that was clear. With that, you want me to make a motion? Okay. I'll make a motion to award the bid for the Windjammer Park baseball field renovations to the Mattia Contractors Incorporated in an amount of $163,091.25, and authorize the Parks and Recreation Director to sign a change orders up to an amount of $16,309 in total. I just lost it too, because it was just right there. 179,425. That one.
All right, we have a motion as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Hoffmeyer. Is there any further discussion or questions before I call for a vote? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. I can't see Councilmember Wiesner. Okay, thank you. All right, passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Brandon.
Thank you, Council.
All right, moving forward to the next item, bid award Northeast 7th Avenue reconstruction. Here to talk to us this evening on this project is Project Manager Phil Esqueda to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Phil Esqueda, Capital Project Manager, and I'm here to talk about contract award for Northeast 7th. Reached a major milestone. We received bids for this project. Go to the next slide. The project was officially advertised on March 6th, and during that time, advertisement was open for approximately just shy of 4 weeks. The bids were received on April 2nd, and with the assistance of the city clerk, they were opened on that day. We received 3 bids from 3 different contractors, which are shown on the screen here. SRV Construction was the apparent low bidder, and they were most responsive for the project. After we received the low bids, since there was federal funding and state funding for this project, we had to reach out to WashDOT for the federal funding part to get their concurrence to award the project also to SRV. Prior to submittal of the agenda bill, we also got concurrence from our other funding partner, which is the TIB. They also approved the award to SRV Construction since they are a funding partner for the project. Again, the lowest bid received is there shown on the screen, $2 million. The federal portion of this project that were received is shown on the screen also, which was for the construction phase. The Washington State TIB grant, also shown on the screen, is also the other funding partner. There's a portion of the federal grant that has been set aside for the construction management. That construction management / construction inspector for the Northeast 7th project. That RFP is currently being advertised now, and I'm expecting to get those bids results this Thursday. So this Thursday I'll get those contractors or consultants that are interested in doing the construction management and construction inspection for Northeast 7th. The city funding match, so as mentioned, there's a portion that we need to match, and that funding is going to come out of the streets capital. And then since this is a large scope project on Northeast 7th, we are also replacing the aged AC water main on Northeast 7th. That funding for the replacement of the water main is coming out of the Water Capital Fund. And so the estimated city cost share for Northeast 7th is the amount shown on the screen there. Something special for this project that we're also requesting, in addition to the award of the contract, is the typical amount is 10% contingency for the project. In the agenda bill, we are requesting, sorry, let me go back one more slide. In June, July, we're expecting to start construction. I reached out to SRV Construction. They're eager to start. Their anticipated timeline, once contract is signed and paperwork is involved, they're estimated to start in June or July. And with that timeline, we are thinking that the substantial completion for Northeast 7th, if all goes well, will be the end of this year. And then during that process of June, July, staff will be reaching out to the homeowners, businesses on Northeast 7th, with signage, mailers, possibly door hangers, just to notify the residents, the businesses on Northeast 7th of what they're to expect for traffic, detours, and construction activity. And with the assistance of the new communications person that's coming on board, we'll also reach out to that person to make sure all our social media is covered to notify the residents in the area. As mentioned, there's the contract award that was submitted by SRV Construction. For this project, we are requesting, staff is requesting, to stick with the 20% contingency for this project due to the scope of the project. It's not just a paving project. It's not just a water main replacement. It's a very large scope project. So for that reason, staff is requesting that we go with a 20% contingency for this project, which comes out to the dollar amount there. And so the total amount for the project that we are requesting is $2,413,878.92. And with that, I won't take any questions. I have Alex here also in case there's any questions related to the project.
Great, thank you, sir. Before we move on to that, we're going to confirm that we've received no public comment on this matter.
That's correct, Mayor. No comments were received.
All right, and I will then turn it over and ask those present with us this evening if anyone present has any public comment on this matter. Hearing none, I will call upon council for their questions and comments. Councilmember Hoffmeyer.
Thanks for that presentation. You know, Northeast 7th, a project that's over 20 years in the making. You know, to see that this is finally going to happen, couldn't be more excited. I remember, I mean, it was at least 20 years ago that Paul Brewer was standing alongside that road there, a former council member, with the editor of the Whitby News Times. And boy, it almost happened, it almost happened, and then for reasons the funding went away. But to see that this is actually finally going to happen, and to see that the city has got to a point to where local companies are willing to bid on project after project, couldn't be more excited. I mean, a company that's at the end of Heller Road should be able to be the low bidder, and it's pretty encouraging that they read the local newspaper, they know what goes on here, and they want to bid on these projects. And it's pretty exciting. I know that SRV will do great work. Steve Barnsey is a great business owner, and I couldn't be more excited that this project is going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hoffmeyer. Anyone else for the good of the order? Yes, Councilmember Stuckey.
Someone could refresh my memory. Man, I really got my mic turned up here. If someone could refresh my memory, a few years ago, I remember seeing this. I saw a much higher number. Mr. Schuler, do you remember, or Alex, do you remember a couple years ago? I mean, it's changing, but I remember that number being much higher.
Yeah, I can speak to that. You're right. In your previous budgets, this was a $4 million project. I would just tell you, based on my expertise, it was closer to a $5 or $6 million project. So staff worked together to reduce the scope, and we've talked to council about that in the past. So two things. One, it was surrounded by wetlands, which made it very expensive. You move in any direction, dollars are just flowing out the out of the way. And so we did a great job of working together to really get it within those wetlands and not impact them as severely. And then we also did it where the pedestrian improvements are only on the north side. So they're not as extensive, very limited on the south side, and that really allowed us to get to a project that's more around the $2 million level. That's what we were shooting for. And then the other thing we did is we had federal funding, but we went out and we also got the State Transportation Improvement Board funding. So we're able to double up and get both federal and state funding and a reduced scope of project to allow this to be done. And then lastly, we were able to get that West Woodby TIB State Transportation funding last year. And so we have that funding that was never spent with local dollars, very limited. And then working on the Fakima Access Road, that was as you recall, that was a $480,000 project, which was really more like a $700,000 to $900,000 project. So as many of the previous council members know, and maybe the new ones don't, we worked very hard and negotiated with U-Haul and did that for about $120,000 instead. And so those traffic impact fees, which is a separate kind of funding source, are now available to be used on 7th Street. And so we won't be, in essence, using our gas tax fund money or general fund money or our rate funding. We'll be able to use this traffic impact fee funding to address almost all the local needs for the street side.
Thank you, and thank you for that explanation, and well done. I mean, people are always quick to be critical when projects go over budget, as they should, and I don't think there's nearly enough kudos given when things are under budget, which there also should. So I appreciate it, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. Anyone else for the good of the order on this matter?
Member Wiesner has his hand raised, Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to echo Councilmember Hoffmeyer's sentiments. I'm excited to see this project done. We've been talking about it for a really, really long time, and I'm excited that a local Oak Harbor High School grad who's chose to keep his business here in this community, is a low bidder and got the award. I mean, that's great. I know he hires people from our community, and it's always nice when we can keep that flowing here locally. And then the third thing I'm thrilled about is that, we did chose not to hold this project up another 3 years by adding a humongous, probably $3 million roundabout onto the west end of this project. I'm happy we made those decisions along with the other compromises Mr. Schuler talked about. It's value engineering, and that's really what we talked about when we kept tossing this project back and forth and kept extending it out because COVID, and then things were getting so expensive, and then we just pulling the budget together to do it, and it looked like it was one of those projects that was never going to get anywhere until value engineering came into play, and we sat down and made some logical decisions on how to get this done. And so kudos to all the staff. Great job, great presentation, Phil. And just really excited to see this thing move forward. And with that, I'd like to make the motion that City Council award the contract for Northeast 7th Avenue reconstruction project to the low bidder SRV Construction Incorporated in the amount of $2,011,565.77, and authorize the Public Works Director to sign change orders up to an amount of $402,313.15 in total.
Thank you, Councilmember Wiesner. We have a motion as presented.
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember Marshall. Are there any other comments or discussion before I call for a vote? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Just very quickly, this project has been through so many reiterations. I've seen so many versions of 7th Avenue, and I, like my fellow council people, I'm so thrilled that we are finally getting around to making this a safer place. So just thrilled. Thank you, Alex, Steve, everybody. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Wiesner is there. Yes. Okay. Thank you. It passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great setup.
All right, so we moved item 8C until after executive session. We're going to move on to other items for consideration. In there, we have Washington State and Local Cybersecurity Grant. Here to speak with us this evening is our Grants Administrator, Wendy Horn.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight's presentation is going to be all about cybersecurity. So, cyber attacks by the numbers. According to the World Economic Forum, there are over 2,000 cyber attacks worldwide every day. They cost companies, governments, other agencies $11 trillion in 2023 alone. They also noted that the average cost to an organization is about $4.5 million. Although you may have recently heard that United Healthcare admitted that they had to pay $22 million for a ransomware attack just to get their data back. It's also estimated that 300,000 new malware events are created every day, and 92% of those are delivered via email. So just one wrong click and you can go down. And I'm sure that you're all aware that the Washington State has had their fair share of cyber attacks. This list is just a few of the quote-unquote successful attacks that have recently happened in our state. And to date, there have been 74 ransomware attacks or attempts in Washington State, and that equates to about one every other day. So, on that cheery note, Washington is trying to improve its cybersecurity statewide. The Washington Military Department has developed the statewide cybersecurity plan and submitted it to the Department of Homeland Security for vetting and approval. The purpose of the plan is to improve the security of critical infrastructure and improve the resiliency of services provided by the state and local governments. Submitting that plan to Homeland Security also allowed the state to be eligible for federal funding to share with local governments as a means to make Washington State's critical infrastructure more resilient. So, on a local level, being close to NAS Whidbey Island and the Canadian border makes Oak Harbor a relatively attractive target for cyber criminals. The FBI, Criminal Justice Information Services, or CJIS, sets federal regulations for law enforcement agencies regarding information security. And then the Washington State Patrol then further refines these policies for Washington State law enforcement. And these policy requirements are continually modified, and the police department is audited on a regular basis to ensure compliance. The most recent version of these regulations impacts the city by no longer allowing consultants, contractors, or vendors to represent the city in CJIS matters, meetings, trainings, and especially audits. The city also participates in the Northern Border Critical Infrastructure Working Group that meets quarterly, and it includes the FBI, Homeland Security, and other state and federal agencies. They cover current and potential cybersecurity threats at those meetings. And again, only certain Oak Harbor employees are allowed to attend those meetings, and consultants and vendors are not. So, as you know, the city has a professional services agreement with for IT services. And this affords the city a number of benefits, but as you can see from the previous slide, there are some limitations. We have added some additional cybersecurity systems in the last few years: NeoGov, Barracuda, Moz 360. These are all protect our electronic information in various ways. And then we did add Ningio, which is a cybersecurity awareness training for staff members about 2 years ago. So, but in terms of limitations, we do not have any dedicated IT staff to monitor, plan, and implement cybersecurity measures. We have limited video surveillance and other technology. And now with the further restrictions from the FBI, the city needs to look at additional alternatives for cybersecurity support. So that brings us back to the state and local cybersecurity grant program. The administration and the police department would like to submit a grant for $250,000 to fund a full-time cybersecurity administrator and purchase additional hardware and software licensing. A few of the benefits of having a full-time staff member is they'll be able to interact with state and federal agencies when it comes to cybersecurity. It will provide the police department with added support regarding the regulations that they have to adhere to. It will provide in-house expertise also when it comes to analyzing and monitoring cybersecurity threats. And then, oddly enough, it also improves our status with the Washington Cities Insurance Association. Apparently having staff members dealing with cybersecurity enhances our standing with the association, which gives us some benefits and possibly deductions. So the request is also going to fund equipment, things like cameras to monitor the server rooms, badge readers to lock down the doors, cages to better protect servers and IT equipment, and then additional licensing for digital protections. And then just as a note, Washington Military Department has requested state funding to meet the 10% match requirement that the federal government has set. The legislature did approve this funding in their last cycle, but they will have to approve it for their next cycle. So it's not a guarantee. So we may have a 10% match if we end up receiving this grant. So the grant would be for 18 to 24 months. The applications are due Friday, May 10th, which is this Friday. The awards will be announced in August, with the agreements ideally being signed in September. And then the grant would essentially run from October 2024 through September 2026. And then this will give the city the time anyways to determine a permanent funding source for the 2027-2028 biennial budget cycle. And then just as a note, if we are awarded this grant, we will bring this item back to you for consideration of a budget amendment, as well as consideration for approval of the cybersecurity administrator position. So with that, I have experts standing by to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Great, Wendy. Thank you for that presentation. At this time, I would like to turn to Julie, our city clerk, to verify that we received no public comment on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No comments were received.
All right, and I would also ask for any additional public comments from those gathered here this evening on this matter. Hearing none, I will call upon council for their questions and comments. Councilmember Stuckey.
Do we have an idea, after the grant funding runs out, what the long-term financial impact is of having a full-time person? I don't know what this going rate as far as salary goes or something like that.
Well, we're estimating that with salary and benefits, it'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of like $115,000 to $125,000. And we are looking at funding sources for that. We're going to be bringing council the next 2 weeks an additional revenue source that the council can consider to fund the continuation of this when the grant runs out, and also other initiatives and other proposed personnel additions as well.
Do we know other municipalities our size, is this common to have a full-time person dedicated to this?
Mayor and council, so Chief Slowick, Police Department. So specifically on the criminal justice information requirements, the recent change by the FBI requires each agency to have a cybersecurity or criminal justice information systems administrator, and it can no longer be contracted. So we've contracted out this position with Sciemptiv for a long time. This new change to the manual that goes in effect this year no longer allows us to contract that out. So every criminal justice agency that has access to CJIS information will be required to have somebody that is employed within their agency. So, yeah.
Got it. So it's something we kind of have to do either way.
That's correct. And I will also say that those people are few and far between. There might be good people out there, but as more agencies pick up or start new positions, they're going to not be available.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. Anyone else for the good of the order on this issue? Hearing no other questions or comments, I would entertain a motion. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the mayor sign a letter to the Washington Military Department in support of a city application for the Washington State and local cybersecurity grant program.
We have a motion as presented by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Wigginstein. Before I call for a vote, is there any other questions or comments on this issue? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, before we move on to you, Mr. Goldman, I'm sorry, I have a request to take a quick 5-minute recess, so we will take a 5-minute recess and be back at 7:29 p.m. I know. All right, so our 5 minutes is up. I will call our city council meeting back to order and pick up where we left off, that being our reports and discussion items, City Council Financial Primer Part 2, Property and Sales Tax. And here to introduce and speak to us this evening on this topic is our Deputy City Administrator, David Goldman.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Dave Goldman, Deputy City Administrator and Finance Director. This is the abridged Council Finance and Budget Primer Part 2. The full packet is in your backup, in addition to this abridged this abridged presentation. Part 2 is specifically about property and sales taxes. They're pretty involved, so I have a primer just dedicated to those two. So, the all funds budget, you can see that we have a number of funds we went over at the last primer. About 47% of our funds are the enterprise funds. So those are our utility funds and the marina fund. Also, about 24%, or about a quarter, is the general funds. 15% are those internal service funds, which charge out all their activities to the other funds. And we have special revenue funds. Those are funds that are those are governmental funds that are specifically for restricted revenues. And then we have capital project funds and debt service funds remaining. So specifically for the general fund, 55% is public safety. That's fire and police and emergency services. The remainder is broken up by development services, parks and recreation, the general fund portion of parks and recreation, because parks and recreation encompasses marina and senior services, which is a special revenue fund. And you see the other smaller pieces of the pie there too, finance and law and judicial, general government, human resources, and so on. For the general fund operating budget, for the expenses, 65% is for salary and benefits. Then about a quarter, 24%, is for operating expenses, and the remainder is for either capital expenses or transfers and interfund type activities. That's where we do the interfund activities with the internal service funds and so on. So, sources of revenue for all the funds, for about half, or 49%, are charges for goods and services. That's mostly utility bills and marina. 28%, the second largest, is taxes. About 10% is grants, which is great because it used to be lower before we brought on Wendy. And we have other percentages there as well, as you can see. So, taxes, since this primer is about two taxes in particular, the two largest sources of taxes, property taxes and sales taxes. We'll get into those details in a minute. Other taxes include our utility tax, our TBD transportation sales tax, and our that's the real estate excise tax. So when a real estate property is sold, the city collects some funds from each sale. The state also receives funds, a larger chunk goes to the state. Didn't forward the slide, sorry about that. All right, property taxes. So the largest source of general fund revenue and second largest overall for all funds is property taxes. And that's $16.3 million projected over the course of the biennial budget, the 23-24 biennial budget. You can see that, you can see that right there. The voters voted for the levied lid lift and the bond levy in late 2022, and it passed. So we started collecting funds in 23 and 24 for those two sources. So you can see that jumped up for property taxes. This is a property tax formula. I highly recommend you read it directly from your package because it's really hard to read here. But basically, you can see that in the years on the left column, the assessed valuation of all the property in the city is in the second column, and that's been increasing over the years. It's been accelerating actually the last few years. It was $2.5 billion in 22, and it's up to $3.3 billion here in 24. And there you have your tax rate. As valuation goes up, rates go down, except when the voters vote for a levy lid lift, which
is what happened. Took effect in '23, and there you can see that in '23 the collections went up to 7.4 million, and in '24 went up to 7.5 million. So property tax works. There's a constitutional limit of $10 per $1,000 worth of your assessed value, or 1%. That's divided into three pieces. The state takes 3.6%. Other special districts take about 0.5. Those are specific special districts. And then everybody else, including the city, the county, and other special districts, are in the 5.9 section that's in the middle, the green section. So the property tax breakdown for 2024, based on county information, the average assessed value of a residential parcel, which includes single family and condominium, the average was $446,000. When you multiply that by the levy rate, you get a total of $3,759 on the average tax bill. The Oak Harbor portion of that is $1,030, plus the bond excess levy to pay for the fire station, that's $80. Together, $1,110. And on the pie chart, you can see that Oak Harbor is 30% of the tax bill. Schools, state schools and Oak Harbor School District are 49%, almost half. And then all the other districts, the county, Snow Isle Library, and hospital make up the remaining quarter of the pie. So for 2024, the millage rate is 8.4. That's under the 10 maximum. So 8.4 times every $1,000 of your house assessed value, or your property, if you're a commercial property owner or landowner or whatever, assessed value equals your tax bill. And these are the components. I showed it in graphical form, the pie chart before. This is more of a table form where you could actually see the numbers that you could multiply against to get these numbers over here. And then again, when you break it down, you can see that there's that average again for the city of Oak Harbor, $1,111, which is basically a more accurate number from these rounded numbers here. The Oak Harbor portion, like I said before, $1,030 plus the bond is $80. But anyway, here is the dollar amount for the average house that go towards property taxes each year. So this chart shows that as the assessed valuation, which is the bottom line, it dropped in 2009, 10, and 11, when we had that Great Recession. It flatlined and then started going up. At that same time, the levy rate started going the opposite way. And the amount of money, the actual levy, the money that the city took in, just went up about 1% or 1.5%. Then the voters voted for the fire levy lid lift, and the amount of money coming in jumped up compared to the 0 year, which is 2009. So methods of increasing property tax levy, the 1% annual levy lid lift, 1% annual lid limit, levy lid lifts, which the voters voted on 2 years ago, and the excess levy for the bond, which the voters also voted on 2 years ago. The 1% annual levy limit, this was put in place in 2007. Some RCWs there that it relates to. This limits the amount that a city council or a governing body, if it's a special district or county or whatever, can increase property taxes each year without going to the voters for a levy lid lift. So the limit is 1%. And as you can see, this inflation factor called the implicit price deflator, sometimes it's over 1%, but in those years, the city is still limited to the 1%, even though the inflation factor is higher than that. And in years where the implicit price deflator is below 1%, sometimes it's below 0 here, it's negative here, or it's maybe 0.9, which is below 1%, a city can approve a separate resolution that goes with the 1% resolution called asking for a substantial need. That allows you to go between what the IPD is showing and 1%, but the maximum is still 1%. So this is a graph showing inflation
versus growth in property taxes. The top line here, oh, this goes through 2003, so the levied lid lift isn't quite in here yet. So what do you call that? Because this 2003 is really the previous year, just in case anybody's curious about that. That's why the levied lid lift is not in here yet, but bottom line is, the bottom line is the Oak Harbor levy amount based on the 0 year. Then this middle line here is the implicit price deflator, and this line here is the Seattle Consumer Price Index, which is published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You can see that the two inflation factors are greater than than what the Oak Harbor levy amount was. Of course, that was before the fire levy. So that's property taxes. Now, sales taxes. This is the second largest source of general fund revenue. This, for 23 and 24, is about $13.4 million. You can see that it increased with inflation because sales tax is a percentage of what you purchase. So as the price of goods went up, and also as our economy increased, the amount of money coming in per sales tax increased. But then you could see that after 2001, it stopped increasing, it flatlined. So with sales tax, you have the general sales tax, which is most of the sales tax we bring in, and we have the transportation benefit district. That's about 18% of all of our sales taxes, and that goes specifically for items that are included in the Street Saver plan for the transportation benefit district that the voters approved about 4 or 5 years ago now. So issues affecting sales tax: economic conditions, state mandates and initiatives, local land use decisions, and economic development efforts. This is a breakdown of where the sales tax goes. The total sales tax in Oak Harbor is 9%. The vast majority goes to the state. There's all these sub-sales taxes, so I kind of added it up and put it in this chart, but the bottom line here is that the state's, out of the 9%, the state gets 6.51%. The county gets about 1.4%, and the city only gets 1.065%. So when somebody purchases something and they're paying 9%, the city gets the least amount of all those three governing groups. So the general sales tax, it's the first half cent and the second half cent. So it's about a cent. And 1% of that goes to the state. The remainder is split 85% to Oak Harbor and 15% to Island County. That's collected based on sales taxes within Oak Harbor, and that revenue is used to fund general services. And that's about $10 million over the biennial period of 23-24. The Transportation Benefit District is about 0.2 of 1%. Oak Harbor gets 99% of that. That was approved by the voters about 5 years ago. That's collected based on sales within Oak Harbor, but vehicle sales and the first 36 months of leases on a vehicle is not included. And the revenues are used for transportation improvement projects that are identified in the city's 6-year capital improvement plan and the Street Saver management plan. And that's about $2.4 million or $1.2 million a year for 23 and 24. There's another small one, criminal justice sales tax, 0.1 of 1%. So 1% goes to the state, 10% goes to Island County, and 90% goes to unincorporated county, Oak Harbor, Langley, Coopville, based on population. That's based on sales within Island County. It's distributed based on a population formula, and it supports criminal justice budget, police budget, basically. And we've collected about $925,000 for 23 and 24. There are a few available sales taxes that we have not enacted. The voter approval is required on the top two. There's a 0.1% public safety sales tax for the city and up to a 0.3 public safety sales tax for the county. There was a House Bill 2211 that would have changed this to non-voter approval and allow the cities to go up to the 0.3%, but that bill did not move forward. There is a 0.1% cultural access that the city or county can ask the voters to approve as well. There's a few others here that voter approval is not required. There's a 0.1% sales tax for housing and related services. A city or county can do that. And there is one here, another House Bill, 2231, that would have permitted a credit of 0.1% out of the state share, which is 6.5%, to be used for public safety. People would not have seen a tax increase. It would have just come out of the state share, but that bill did not move forward as well. And there might be some other smaller ones possible that's found in the MRSC Revenue Guide, Municipal Resource Service Center. Yeah. So with that, boom. And here is the revenue guide, and it's online, and there's a link that nobody could read, but it's in the presentation, so it's clickable. And that's it. That is part 2 of the Council Finance and Budget Primer, and we have some upcoming primers coming up in the next few workshops, and we'll be bringing stuff related to the budget to the council over the summer and in the early fall for your consideration and input, and yeah, and we have a special meeting coming up too to go over priorities, and look forward to the discussion and the output from that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldman. I will now call upon council for their questions and comments on this matter. Councilmember Stuckey.
Just curious, the TBD,
Yes.
the state getting the, 1%, which is really nothing. Is that like just like an administrative? Like, why are we
Yes,
giving them?
administrative fee. That's what it says in the book.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. Any other questions or comments for the good of the order?
Right.
All right, hearing none. We will, at this time, the council will take a short break and then move into executive session to consider the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase as pertains to price per RCW 42.30.110, parent 1, parent B, and to discuss with legal counsel litigation or potential litigation per RCW 42.30.110, parent 1, parent I. Anticipated duration of the executive session is 20 minutes. Action may or may not be taken upon return to the open session. Executive sessions are not open to the public.
The council has announced that they will extend the executive session for an additional 10 minutes to 8:20.
It's on Whitby Avenue, just up over this way, so not too far. Although we're building a second station. No, he's going out to bid here hopefully in the next 30 days. Yeah, I spent most of my career in fire chief in Colorado. Getting better, and she was fine. Retired about a year ago. I spent a lot of time in Washington, so and the career is Oak Harbor did well, yeah, I'm just, they just had me on an apartment down the street from the station for, she's real busy, put her on her home in Colorado, so we kind of travel back and forth. Sabrina, I'm a coach, so especially since there's a couple of staff.
The council has announced that they will extend the executive session for an additional 5 minutes to 8:25.
Session, I will open the floor to council comments regarding the real estate matter discussed.
Yeah,
Mayor Pro Tem.
Do we have an example, like recommended action for the screen? I did not write anything down.
Here's an example I just came up with.
Oh, okay, good.
Move to authorize the mayor to sign the purchase and sale agreements for 3 properties adjacent to the city-owned Friend Marsh, which are identified by their Island County tax parcel numbers. Okay, I'll just give the.
Oh, look at that. You just now came up with this? I move to authorize the mayor to sign the purchase and sale agreements for 3 properties adjacent to city-owned Friend Marsh, which are identified by their Island County tax parcel numbers R13203-047-4190 and R13203-050-4580 and R13210-430-4530.
Okay, I have a motion as presented.
Second.
And I have a second by Councilmember Hoffmeyer. Is there any further discussion before I call for a vote on this matter? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 2, 3, 4. I can't see Councilmember. Okay, so we have 5 yes votes, and then all those opposed. 1, 2 votes opposed. So passes 5-2. Thank you very much. Last item, we had an employment agreement for Oak Harbor City Administrator Sabrina Combs. I have asked Sabrina Combs to take on the pivotal role of City Administrator. In her 4 years at the city, she has been continually promoted with good reason. Sabrina brings a valuable combination of analytical, practical, and interpersonal skills to every circumstance and opportunity. She is a leader and a team builder who tackles the tasks at hand and looks forward to anticipate future needs. Sabrina brings both public and private sector experience to operations, budgeting, and personnel management. In my 20 years of leadership experience, I have only encountered one individual that possesses the communication skills that Sabrina demonstrates on a daily basis. Communication is vital in leadership, and I have all the confidence in the world in Sabrina. She has my full support for this position as soon as it is available. I would like to confirm that we received no public comments on this matter.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
All right, do we have anyone here that would like to speak on this matter? Hearing none, I would then call upon council for their questions and comments on this matter. Councilmember Arms.
As I've known Sabrina before I even came on council, she's always been kind, helpful, always there. This last week, I had a question. I looked at the clock. It's 5 o'clock in the evening. She's still taking questions. I think she's an awesome addition to the city. I think she'll be an invaluable person for the mayor, for us. And also, this is at the pleasure of the mayor, and she's willing to put it all on the line, knowing that maybe in 4 years, a new mayor, if this mayor doesn't want to run again, will not have a job. But she's willing to put it all on the line for the mayor, and I think that she's the person that we need to put in this spot. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Arms. Anyone else? Yes, Councilmember Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to talk just a little bit, I guess not specifically about Sabrina or this position, but just my understanding of council's role in this whole deal, right? And I totally respect the mayor's decision and the fact that it's his right to make the decision, and totally will get behind in the end whatever council's decision. And certainly, you all get that I've always been a team player. But at the same time, in my mind, my role in this tonight is twofold. One is we have a contract we're entering into, and it's council's job to approve that contract. And I don't know that I have any problems with the contract. And again, I don't know that necessarily I have any problems, I guess, with the mayor's decision, other than the second part of what council's role here in the charter and looking through MRSC's take on, why does council have a role in making an employment decision, especially when it's a position that serves at the pleasure of our mayor. And part of that process is for the council to be that, next party, that overseeing party, to make sure that we're doing the best thing for the citizens of Oak Harbor. I mean, overall, that's our job every single day. And the reality is, I don't know that I have all the information I need to be able to say that I have overseen this decision and can make that. And that's just because in order for me to qualify whether this is the best person for the job, I'd have to know who else is interested in the job. Now, with that said, I am so excited about the fact that we're promoting from within. It's something that I believe in very strongly. And again, I believe strongly in the mayor's right to make this decision. And again, I'll support ultimately whatever the council's vote is. But I just wanted to voice my concern from my position, right? Which my position again is to, make that statement basically that we're doing the best thing for the community as possible. And I just don't feel that I've been given that information that I need to do that. And that's just me personally. Council can all have their own opinion. And that's, again, why we're here and why we're diverse and why we have different opinions, right? Because you get the majority of things up until the last vote. I think we voted unanimously on all night long. But I just wanted to be clear as we move into the vote stage. This is not a lack of confidence vote in the mayor's decision or a lack of confidence vote in Sabrina in any way, shape, or form. It certainly is not a lack of confidence in the idea of promoting from within. I love that. It's just a lack of confidence in my decision-making abilities based upon the information I have, based upon my understanding of my role and my request to make a vote on this decision. And so I just wanted to be clear with everybody and transparent. And I appreciate everybody hearing me out. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Wiesner, for your opinion. It is noted. Councilmember Stuckey.
So kind of an echo of Councilmember Wiesner's comments. Sabrina is probably the person on staff I've interacted with the most over the years that I've been on council, which is just a few. And she's been nothing short of helpful, and I think she's got all the makings of a great city administrator. But I don't know that for sure that she's the best person right now for our city because we never opened it up to the public. I mean, a lot of times in the past, I've seen directors, we've opened up that position, we've allowed council members to sit on that interview, and that helps with buy-in because we all had a say in it. Yes, ultimately the mayor appoints, but we need to be there for that buy-in, for that second kind of, line of defense isn't the right word, but that second pair of ears and eyes to kind of give a different perspective. We have people in our city, working within our city and living in our city, who have doctorates in public administration, who have been administrators in other cities, who have decades of experience. I don't think there's a harm in us waiting 2 or 3 months to do a thorough search and make sure at the end of it, maybe Sabrina's the best candidate there is, in which case there should be no question after that because we've all come to that same conclusion. But we should at least pump the brakes on this for the 2 to 3 months, do a proper search, put it out there, and make sure that this is the right candidate at the right time. That's all I have. I think doing anything less would be a disservice to the city.
Thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. Councilmember Hoffmeyer.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, first of all, I absolutely adore Sabrina and have cherished, our almost 3 years of working together, and echo what everybody else said in that regard. I am incredibly frustrated by the process. The fact that it was deputy city administrator. Well, no, we can't do that. It's interim city administrator. And then we're here looking at an employment contract, but then in the open you heard, well, you're being asked to confirm it when the position's available. What else are we going to find out after the fact? It is not fair to the employee, first and foremost. It absolutely isn't. And I too would like to see the position opened up. And if it's opened up, I absolutely would not question the mayor's decision if it were to be Sabrina. She is an incredible asset to this city and is doing a marvelous job right now. And I know she will into the future. The only other thing with the only other contention I would have with the process is the fact that her old position is her fallback position, if you will, is already being filled as well. And it just sometimes government moves a little slower than the private sector. That's all. And I don't question anybody's intent. I know everybody wants what's best for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hoffmeyer. Councilmember Marshall, and then I'll go to you.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I'm a little surprised and disappointed that this is the stance that we're going to take now. We just approved a chief of police in December without the same process. Nobody once said anything about opening that up to making sure that we had the best candidates available, that we did this search. We had an excellent internal candidate who knows our city, who's worked in our city, who lives in our city, and none of us questioned the fact that we didn't open this up. We hired the right person, in my opinion. We've hired excellent department heads from external sources because we didn't have internal candidates. But here we have somebody who served this city very well in her tenure that she's been here. She's the mayor's choice. She's an excellent candidate. She's been nothing but helpful and communicative. I mean, I turn to Sabrina all the time and I ask her questions. And when she doesn't have the answer, she gets me the answer. She points me in the right direction. She has the person who has that answer give me a call. So now we have this candidate and we're going to all of a sudden want to open it up publicly. I don't understand where we're coming from. I fully support Sabrina in this position. I look forward to confirming her in the position and working with her for years to come. And I don't know where this is coming from all of a sudden. I really am surprised and quite honestly disappointed that this is the stance we're going to take with it when we have such an excellent candidate. And this is the mayor's choice. And I've seen in his tenure, since he's been here, it's been a very short time, how much he relies on her and how much they communicate and just what an asset she is to the city and to the staff. The staff really seems to enjoy working with her, and that's what's important. We have somebody who knows our processes, who knows our city, who knows our staff, who's willing to take on the job and help to clean up, kind of what we've been dealing with and help move our city forward. And so, Sabrina, I support you in the position. Mayor, I support your choice for Sabrina, and I look forward to confirming her.
Thank you, Councilmember Marshall. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Councilor Marshall. Those are my thoughts exactly. I think that if, looking back to the police chief's appointment, I think that if the city wants to be able to promote from within, or if we want to, whenever we have a director or department head level position, require a nationwide search and the whole deal, then that's a policy decision that the council needs to make at a different meeting. That's a separate issue, because if we're willing to promote from within for one position, but for another we say, we need more information, that's arbitrary. That's totally arbitrary from where we sit, and I suspect could get us in some hot water. But so if the council wants to make a policy decision about exactly how we are going to go about looking for and appointing director, department head level positions, then that's a topic that's worthy of discussion. But what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So I'm not gonna. I want to have the same standard, I guess, across the board for all of these decisions. So I appreciate that Sabrina is a somewhat unconventional choice for a job like this. You know, those of us who've been going to conferences and meeting other cities, you know, there's a real kind of specific person with their master's degree in administration who's been doing this for 30 years, and that's just kind of what everybody does. But I appreciate that the mayor has made this somewhat unconventional, but I believe competent selection. So I think that some of the city's best moves and our best decisions have been when we've kind of approached something from an unconventional or outside the box perspective. So I say give her a chance. I support the mayor's decision, and I think that if the city council wants to kind of really iron out exactly what we want the process to look like, then that's a conversation we can have at another meeting. But for the topic of today, I support the mayor's decision.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, Councilmember Wittgenstein.
Yeah, I thank everybody for their comments, and I'm in line with Councilmember Marshall and Councilmember Pro Tem in this, that and they both brought up great points. We did it one way in December. Now we're asking for a more different way now, and my question is why? What's the purpose to ask that question when we didn't ask it in December? I too like the idea of thinking outside the box. I like the idea of coming from a different perspective, and maybe 30 years of experience isn't what the city needs. We don't know. Historically, in the world, we tend to hire people who have tons and tons of experience, and we get tons and tons of old ways. I've been watching that happen on a national level, on a state level, in our politics, in our government, and I'm not pleased with it in many areas. I like seeing young people come and speak up and be a part of our community and our government and our municipalities, and why not do that here locally and give it an opportunity and give role models for our young people to strive for in that position. So I too am in favor of Sabrina. She's been everything but helpful, except maybe this chair over here still needs to be replaced. But and this is your chair, Jim, so I can understand why it's, it needs it, right? So yeah, I think it's a wise choice. I think it's a cost-effective choice for the city at this point. With the expenses that we sometimes get sideswiped with, this process of hiring within is a lot more affordable if the candidates are the right candidates than it would be to open it up and spend a large chunk of money through an interview process and hiring another consulting company in order to run the process for us. The next thing you know, we're another 6 figures trying to figure out what the best do in 6 months down the road. So when this position does become available, I'm in full support of this decision, and I get behind the mayor and Sabrina.
Councilmember Stuckey.
Real quick, with respect to the comment about the police chief, because I figured that would come up. I did specifically say during that meeting, I would have preferred that this be open to the public, though I acknowledge that we probably would all come to the same conclusion. So small change, but I did openly say that, okay? And, also this is the director of directors, so I feel like it's a little different situation. You have a valid point on policy, and so I would like us to have a policy conversation in the future, because I do think that for the most part, every position that's a director level position should go through that. But I do acknowledge that we don't have that policy currently. And again, if we go with Sabrina, I think she's going to do a wonderful job. I just would prefer this to be done a little bit differently and seeing all the options to make sure that is the best choice currently. Thank you.
Chief Slowick, did you have a comment? Sure.
Okay. So Tony Slowick, 1555 Southwest Downfield Way in Oak Harbor. I just like to say, as I've known Sabrina for the past 4 years, her leadership is servant leadership. She is not selfish. The job is not about her. The job is about the city and bettering her, the people she works with. She's extremely collaborative, and she is very creative. Often, being present at city council meetings, I hear frustration from the city council about things that studies we've done for the last 10 years and not making any headway. She is a person who takes action and challenges that of the staff that she works with. And I think for the city, while she might not have the resume that you might want, she has the resume that the city needs. And I think that the city is in good hands, and I think that being a citizen of this community, I know that our future is very bright with her in that position. So I very much endorse her for that position. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion. Oh, Jim, did you have a question or comment? Councilmember Wiesner?
No, Mayor, just listening intently. Thank you.
Okay, you were frozen. I wasn't sure. That's why. So, all right. So no additional comments or questions. I would entertain a motion. Yes, Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have to modify the motion that's in
It
our
does. It needs
packet?
to include as soon as the position is available.
Okay. So I move to confirm the mayor's appointment of Sabrina Combs as city administrator for the city of Oak Harbor and authorize the mayor to sign the employment agreement as soon as the position becomes available.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion as presented by Councilmember Marshall, seconded by Councilmember Wiggenstein. Any further comments or questions before I call for a vote? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. We have 4 votes. All opposed? Okay, so passes 4-3. Thank you very much. There being no further business, this is the
Mayor, can I
motion
just
to
make
adjourn.
Mayor, can I make a quick comment?
Absolutely, yes.
I just want to congratulate Sabrina and let her know that I meant everything I said about getting behind this vote and supporting her moving forward. Congratulations, Sabrina.
Great, thank you very much. Yes, Councilmember Hoffmeyer.
Yeah, I would like to echo what Councilmember Wiesner said. Sabrina, I will continue to have your back and just really appreciate the excellent work you're doing. Thank you.
Councilmember Stuckey.
Ditto. One thing I respect about this council and the council members on it, I feel like all of us can disagree with each other, and at the end of the meeting, that's it, and move on. I can't say I've always observed that. So with that, congratulations, Sabrina. Look forward to working with you in that role.
We can all go grab some mod pizza together.
I'm all over it, Jim.
Thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. There being no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Second, and, okay. All right.